Alright, so this is a little drawing I did of a like a little makeshift pond. You got the directions, north, south, east, west. You got these little X's here, and don't start talking crap because my drawing ain't a damn artist. But anyway, you got these little X's here. You know, those are like laydowns, and the little lines here are like toolies or cattails or whatever. Okay, so one of the most important things about night fishing is make sure you go and you walk this area and you fish this area during the day first. You need to know, there's a hole here so you don't break your damn ankle, or you need to know what's going on with it. You don't just need to go to some pond you've never been or some lake you've never been and just start walking around in the dark, fumbling around in the dark with big treble hooks in your hand, on your baits, and with all your gear. Okay, so make sure you fish it during the day and you know it good. You know where the fish are most of the time during the day. You know where the good spots are. You know where this is at and where that's at. You know where it's deeper here, shallow here. You know what I mean? So just be safe and make sure you do that the day before. You don't lose a lot of baits that way either. Okay, now number one thing is what happens when I see, this is just my observation from seeing people try to night fish. People get out, they park in the parking lot and they walk down to the pond, and then they get down here and they start walking along the bank. Alright, in my opinion, it's a big mistake. You know what I mean? You don't want to do that. First of all, you gotta think about the moon. Okay, the moon's like the sun. It has a time that it comes out, and it has a moon rise and a moon set time, just like the sun does. And it moves throughout the night like the sun would during the day. Okay, so like for instance, this is an example of the moon. It's gonna move throughout the night, but this is an example of it. Say the moon's down here and it's shining this way. You park up here, okay? When you get to the pond. Now, you don't want to walk along the bank, number one, because a lot of times the fish, in my opinion, the fish are going to be really, really shallow. All the bait fish are going to be up against the bank, and the fish are going to be shallow most of the time. The big fish are going to be shallow feeding. So you don't want to walk along that, because that's one of your key pieces of structure is just the bank itself, the shoreline itself. So don't get up there and just start fumbling around it. You know what I mean? And first of all, you want to take into account where the moon's at. So like in this drawing, the moon's coming from this way. You always want to put your bait between yourself and the moon. Okay, so say for instance the moon's shining here, so you want to be fishing this way. You don't want to be fishing with the moon at your back here because you're casting a shadow on the water. Now as you walk, you're casting a shadow on the water. And I'm telling you, when you walk and you cast a shadow over a fish that's in 2 foot of water, he knows you're there. You know what I mean? That shadow, it might not spook him right away, it might not swim away, but he knows you're there. You know what I mean? These fish are so conditioned to that kind of stuff that they know when stuff's around. You know what I mean? So get on the other side where you're looking at the moon, and always put your bait between yourself and the moon. So say you want to work this shoreline, okay? I come around, first off, don't walk next to the bank, walk around, okay? Say you pick this spot, you want to start here, you want to work your way around the pond that way. Okay, first up, walk up, you know what I mean, and pick your first cast. Like if I walked up here, my first cast would be kind of along this bank here. You know what I mean? So what I would do is I wouldn't want to walk all the way up on the bank. I'm going to stay off of it 10 feet or so, I'll creep up on it. I'm going to make my first cast here, and I'm going to cast out that way. What I'm doing is kind of eliminating water. So I'm going to cast out that way and work it back. Once I work it back this way, I'm pretty sure if there was a fish here, and he's feeding, he's going to hit that bait as it comes through. So once I make that first cast, now I'm free to walk up to the shoreline here, okay? Then I'm going to make my next cast. And I'm going to cast this way, past the lay down, and I'm going to work this shoreline this way, okay? So, when you're doing that, what you're doing is you're freeing a path that you can walk, because you're not going to walk along the shoreline before you fished it, okay? So if you make a cast here and a cast here, you know what I mean, you're gonna free that shoreline up, and you're gonna know, okay, well, either I caught a fish here, or I pulled a fish here, or off of here, or here, so now I'm free to walk this. So that's what I'll do, once I make a couple casts that way and a cast that way, then I'll walk to this laydown, and I'll go to the other side, just right outside of casting distance before, and I'll make a cast, I'll cast I'll cast this way. And when you go over here, do the same thing. You know, stay off of the bank a little bit. Make your first cast. Work it back all the way up to the shoreline. Then, once you work it back to the shoreline, then move up right up to the bank, and then make your next cast. You know, and cover the shoreline. You know, make a cast in here. Make a cast in here. Make this long cast here. You know, once you made those casts, then you're free to walk, you know, the shoreline. But me personally, what I do a lot of times is once I make a cast, I started here, made a cast here, I'll jump and I'll walk all the way around, and then I'll stand off here, make that first cast, bring it back, and then I'll come here. And then that way I didn't mess up this shoreline, because that fish that's sitting here might have wanted a different angle. You know, he might have wanted that bait coming back on this way. So that's kind of what I do. I'll just bound the whole night and bound the whole night. And when I fish, I'm going to bound that way, you know, and keep on going. I'm not going to walk along the shoreline, because I'm going to be casting at the shoreline. You know what I mean? So you don't want to walk over. It's just like if you're in a boat fishing, you want to drive over the point you're going to fish first. You know what I mean? So that's how I work it. Now, once you get around, you know, and you got the moon to your back, what I try to do is just work it sideways like it did. You know, I would work this little area before I walk this way, or vice versa. I would work this little area shoreline before I walk this way. You know what I mean? That's just what I would do. You know, so you want to just be careful that you use the moon to your advantage. You don't want to put it at your back and be standing at the shoreline, because when you're walking the shoreline, you're casting a shadow the whole time. You know, whether you're a couple 5-10 feet off of it, like I said to do over here, that's different because of the simple fact that your shadow's casting this way. But when you're on this side, your shadow's casting onto the water. So you're going to scare off, you may possibly scare off fish that are right along the shoreline. So this is a couple things, you know, to look at and to take into account when you're night fishing, you know. Like I was reading the thread a minute ago, and like Don was talking about how you know, he uses lights, and it's better to be safe. Yeah, it's always better to be safe, and that might work with Don when he's fishing in his tournaments, and you know, that works for him. This just works for me. I mean, we all know that Don can catch fish, and he catches big fish, so he knows what the hell he's talking about. You know what I mean? But this is just something that works for me. You know, to each his own, and we'll just go from there. You guys can take whatever, you know, information I have. I'm not the best fisherman in the world, but when it comes to night fishing, I've caught a bunch of fish night fishing, and it's something I like to do. So I hope this helps out anybody, and everybody feel free to add to it, you know, so we can all get different point of views, and you know, it might be able to help someone out. All right, guys, thanks.